Indeed, he will come. He will come at 18:23. So 23 minutes past 6 o'clock. Welcome to Bible Perspective here on Adventist World Radio, powered by the SIDmedia. I'm your host, Zanel Zama. I hope that you're all good and I hope that you are all blessed. It's going to be quite an interesting one. I hope that all of you are ready for today's one. If it's already Sabbath, wherever you are, happy Sabbath. If not, happy Sabbath in the next few minutes. Yeah, but in case I don't say it in the next few minutes, happy Sabbath, before it comes. So we're going to be having quite an interesting conversation. You can text us on +27 734 703520. That number again is +27 734 703520. So you can get everyone to come together as we are about to engage on this conversation. It's a conversation where today I'm not speaking to just one person, right? We're speaking to quite a number of people. So make sure that you do engage with us here as we look at all things Bible translations.
You are tuned into Adventist World Radio, powered by SIDmedia.
So the Bible has been translated into many languages from the biblical age, languages of the Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, right? So according to the White Leaf Global Alliance, as of September 2023, of all the Bibles have been translated, we have about 736 languages. Over 736 languages that have been translated to date. So according to popularity, right, because we have favorites, we choose which Bible we use. Some people, they prefer one over the other. Others, they have all. And because of technology, our apps allow us to switch between Bibles on our phones. We don't have to have the multiple hard copies there, but others, they actually have the hard copies. So according to the popularity, the King James Version is ranking high with 55% of it being popular, while the New International Version, that's the one that we all understand, simpler English, there it's at 19%, and the New Revised Standard Version, it's at 7%. The New American Bible, it's at 6%. The Living Bible at 5%, and all other translations at 8%. And it's being about English, the English language there. That is the English language, not any other language there, right? So lately we've seen the emergence of a new Bible translation, for new translation called the Generation Z. We call it the Gen Z Bible, right? And it has been making some waves. Some people, they call it being disrespectful to God. Some people, they're like, no, man, I actually understand it better, than all the other ones. Others like, when I read the King James Version, it's not make sure, thyself is not making sure there. But when I read, the Gen Z Bible, I get it. While others, they're like, when I read the NIV Bible, it's easier. The English is easier. Etc. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be looking at about all things, how the Bible, guys, this one I practice it a lot every time I have to say it. The word of God does not change, it does not evolve, but the language changes. That's my disclaimer. The language changes, but the word of God does not change. So when we go, please do forgive us ahead of time for that one there. So Mfundi Swami there, unfortunately, Shem load shedding so you might not see his picture. It's okay. We have our pastor joining us on the line, Pastor Tatenda Machimere here, who's going to be helping us navigate this one. But I'm not alone in studio. I'm gonna start with a person who actually speaks this language, and
I don't know who you're talking about.
and I work with him. The children love him. We have Uncle Taps in studio. What's up?
What's happening, everybody?
Is one?
I'm joking. Hello, everybody. Happy Sabbath, firstly. Happy Sabbath.
Yes, I said it, right? We have in studio, we have Tapio Musosri, who's joining us on the line. Yeah, he does speak not that bad. Not like how some of the things we're going to read, but I know that he does speak like that. So we have him joining us. And then we have Sister Lebu as well joining us. Hi, Lebu.
Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you?
I'm good. So she's also joining us here. And then lastly, we have Tatenda. Hi, Tatenda.
Sorry, it's Kapana.
Hi. Tatana is the pastor. You saw. You stop, 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 stop.
His message to me.
It's me switching up all your days. Sorry, it's Tapaza. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, man?
I am good. Are you good? You're not tripping, right? You're
Nah,
cool.
nah. With Jesus, you never trip.
Is one ne na na
Yeah,
na na
he
ne na na na
always
na.
hold us down.
Na 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 na
Never
na na na.
doubt.
You're corner. Yes, it. So we're going to be having fun. So if you also want to engage with us, the number to dial is +27 734 703520. That number again is +27 734 703520. Let's kick it off with our pastor. Mfundisi, good morning. How are you? Good afternoon. How are you? What's wrong with you
Good
today?
evening.
Good evening.
Well,
I
I guess
biblically
you're
it's still
thinking
morning,
it's
so you're
Sabbath
right.
is only beginning, so it's morning, so we'll excuse you there.
I'm forgiven. Yes. Yo, my pastor, what's up?
Yes, no, I'm good. Happy Sabbath.
I tried. That's how the young ones speak. So I tried. What's up? How you
You,
doing? Right?
you tried, but when we try, we just can't do it. So we'll leave
Nah,
it to them.
let's leave it to them. Thank you so much for this, for coming through.
It's a
I've been saying
pleasure.
this, in fact, the whole day that yesterday during devotion I was leading. So I read a scripture from the Gen Z Bible. In one verse, my son was like, "What are you reading?" I'm like, "No, it's a new Bible." He's like, "No, it's sounding weird." He's like, he's 13, by the way. He's like, "It's weird. We can't have such word. It took us time to exact. We can't have such word in the Bible. No, you can't, with God." And I'm like, good shot, because I'm having this conversation today. So it's going to help me. I was doing some bit of a research,
Yeah.
and I handed there. So when this, you being here, I asked, apparently we have the Great Bible. I didn't know of it. Pela, some of us, we just read the NIV. It's done. Even context, we don't play Greek and Hebrew. Derek sent me some scriptures from the Great Bible. He's like, during that time, I think it was in the 1500s or so. He's like, if we were to read that Bible today, we wouldn't understand it because the language there was different. We move on to King James Version. Thy will, God, thyself, thy yonkinto. It gets a bit complicated. Now we're having this one here. I think NIV is easier for most people to understand. Apparently, there's also easy English there. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So if you can just, take us a bit in terms of the Bible translations, where we started, or as far as you can go, where we started to where we are today. How have we progressed, or how has the Bible changed?
Okay. All right. Well, it's a very long history
Yeah.
that is there of Bible translations, because it starts even before the time of Christ.
Mhm.
Right from Old Testament times, when you had the Old Testament written in Hebrew. Once the Romans came and the Greeks came, you had that Hebrew Bible being translated into Greek.
Okay.
So actually, the manuscripts that we have of the Greek Bible, or of the Greek translation of the Hebrew, are the oldest manuscripts. So they're even older than the Hebrew manuscripts that we have today.
Mhm.
So very early on, from before the time of Christ, there was already the activity of translating the Bible from one language to another.
Okay.
Without going into too much detail about that translation, there's been lots of translation that's been happening throughout. The Bible was also translated into Latin, which was
Mhm.
the language that was spoken in the Roman Empire. So it was translated from the Hebrew and the Greek into Latin. But if we come into the church that is that influenced us, which is basically the Western side, without going into the Ethiopian side of the church and the Russian side of the church, but
Mhm.
basically in Rome, the only translation that existed for a long time was the Latin Vulgate,
Okay.
and then the Greek translation. But people were all using the Latin Vulgate, and that wasn't translated into people's common language. In fact, it was access to the Bible was also restricted. So unfortunately, you wouldn't get a copy of the Bible, Zanele. It would just be people like me who are pastors. Tafazgo wouldn't be able to read a Bible. It was actually chained to
Yeah.
the pulpit,
Yeah.
so that only pastors can read it. Why? Because they thought it's too difficult for common people to understand. what
Okay.
the Bible says and to interpret it properly. So there was restricted access. So if it was hard just to read, imagine how much harder it was to translate. That was
Sure.
completely illegal.
Hmm.
And people almost got killed. There's several people who had death threats. They were imprisoned because of trying to translate the Bible. In fact, John Wycliffe, the first person to translate the Bible into English, actually
Mhm.
got burnt for that.
Yeah.
So he was the first one to translate it into English. Then you had William Tyndale, who also came along and tried to refine it a little bit, but it was at great danger to themselves. Then there's lots of persecution until finally um, people got allowed to translate. And one of the first versions that was allowed was the King James.
Okay.
So you'll see the old versions will actually say the authorized, because that was the legal version around town. That's the one that was
Mm.
accepted by the king. It's the one that was accepted by the church as well for everybody to read. That was a history of translation. Um, and part of why I brought that history up is
Mhm.
reading the Bible in common language has always been very controversial.
Okay.
Right from early days, it's been very, very controversial. Another point that I need to bring out is the Bible that was written in Greek,
Mhm.
which is the New Testament. The choice of language is interesting because it's a dialect of Greek that's called Koine Greek, which is
Okay.
different from the classical Greek. The classical Greek is the one that was used to write official documents.
Oh.
So a lot of the philosophers that you have, like Plato, Aristotle, are written in classical Greek. But the
Mm.
Bible was written in this Koine Greek, which is common Greek, almost like the street language, the
Yeah.
everyday language of the people, which I find as very interesting. But maybe let me leave it at that for now. Then we can
Okay.
go on with our discussion. I can nerd out and talk the whole time about
Yeah.
Bible translations, but I'll let other people come in as well.
All right. Okay. So before we go any further, I just want to read. We all love Psalm 23, right? This is one scripture. Even my daughter now. I think now we are on verse 2 for her memorizing it. I think we all memorize Psalm 23 easier. So I'm just going to read it. Disclaimer: I'm reading
From the Gen Z Bible.
from the Gen Z
Okay.
Bible.
Okay.
Okay. It says, a psalm by David. The Lord is like my ultimate guide. I won't need anything else. God sets me to chillax in lush grass spots and guides me to peaceful, calm waters. Dude knows how to create perfect vibes, you know. He totally revives my soul. He guides me down the legit path of doing right by his name. Even if I'm not really, even if I'm not, even if I'm in a really dark and scary place, like serious bad vibes, I won't be freaking out because you're right there with me. And your guidance and support gives me major comfort. You hook me up with a lit fist right in front of my haters. You bless me with fresh swag
Hey.
and my drip be overflowing.
Listen.
Like, Zafun, like no cap. Blessings and love will be with me every day of my life, and I'm gonna chill in God's crib forever.
For revs.
Forevs, yeah, forevs. So forevs, not
Correction.
forever, right? So having read that, the first time I think I bumped into the Gen Z Bible, I was like, let's not make sure. Let's start with the younger people here in studio. We'll start with Tapua because he speaks that language a
Ah.
bit. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? We all know Psalm 23. What are your thoughts on that scripture?
Um. Why are you starting with me now? Now I'm gonna get all this in trouble. But then, look, I understood it.
Okay.
Like I understood what they were saying,
Okay.
and I think that is the main point of language. I think we briefly had this discussion a little while ago. The
Yeah.
main purpose of talking or communicating using different words, be it English, whatever, their sign language, is to get a point across.
Okay.
So if the point gets put across, Lord have mercy. I got it. That's the main thing. I got it.
Okay, Lebu.
Okay, so when I first came across the Gen Z Bible, it was on TikTok, right? And then I was like, at first I was like, something's not right here.
Okay.
But then I thought about it, and I'm like, a lot of the youth right now, right, is not in church because either they're not understanding the Bible, they feel like the Bible is not realistic or it's not modern. It gives us events from the past, and we can't we can't relate and put into perspective on how things are now. So low key, I get it.
Okay.
But I also get why the older generation, the older generation is could be upset about it, because it low key has disrespect a little bit.
Okay.
But then it's relevant to the languages that we speak.
Okay.
Language.
Yeah.
Okay. Not to mix up the words now. Tafazo.
I think for me, when I read this, so for the first time, I mean, I'm not social media, so this is my first time reading this Gen Z Bible, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when you guys gave us the task, right? And then I was doing like a morning devotion.
Yeah.
Right. And I was reading. I think it was from Proverbs, 5 verse something. I forgot. And I was like, let me just check how Gen Z translates this. Next thing I'm seeing, there's emojis. I was like, whoa, which Bible is this? Right? This thing is emojis and like hashtags. I'm like, it feels like I'm on social media. Right? So for me, that sort of took me by surprise, because I was like, okay, dude, the Bible, you know how Pathfinder is supposed to be reverent and calm, and I'm just like, this feels play. Like, I don't even speak to my younger brother like this. This is a bit too much even for me. And I'm almost I'm a Gen Z, right? I'm almost a 2000. Right?
Almost.
If you round me off, I am, but you know what I mean? But it was like, okay, what's going on? It's not mature, like it's right. And then it's something very interesting that shook my boots, right? I think I was reading Genesis 6 verse 5.
But you said shook, my guy.
Yeah, it shook my. Okay, I mean, it shook me out of my boots. Yeah, I mean, it's like what the pastor was saying. I think the common Greek was common lingo, right? So I think that's what they're trying to do essentially. But then I saw in a verse it says, I think, let me just read it nicely so that I don't lose it.
Which one? I have my Gen Z open.
Genesis 6 verse 5, right?
This is the Gen Z.
This is the Gen Z, right?
Genesis 6 verse 5.
6 verse 5. I was blown away. I was like, wait, what? So it says, and oh my God, right? God looked down on the earth and was like, yo, humans are straight up wicked AF.
Okay.
Now, if you understand the lingo, what AF means, I can't even say it on this radio.
True.
So now it's like, okay, when are we drawing the line?
Yeah.
You know? And I think for me, she was on the fence. She was more like, it's okay. For me, it's a no.
Okay.
I think for me, I'm going to stick on the hard parts. Like I think it's losing the essence of what the Bible is supposed to be, right? Yes, communication is key, but I think what matters most is what it's also the atmosphere and the ambience it brings and the essence it brings. And I think I was reading a text. I think it's in Proverbs actually, when Solomon is giving to his son, I think, because he says my son, which means it's something like my dad speaking to me. It's a very serious conversation.
Yes.
And then in the Gen Z Bible, it's like, yo, my man. I'm just like, whoa. Like, it loses the essence of the seriousness of the message.
Of the conversation.
So I'm just like, yes, we're trying to, but at what cost, Chief?
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, it's a hard no.
Okay. Right. I'm glad you brought that up. We're gonna discuss it later on, because one of the listeners was saying, for example, I read a verse when I was doing a throw forward with Zama about what we're gonna speak. They say you read a verse during the throw forward. It said AF. What does AF mean? So we're gonna deal with that one later on. So I'm glad that we're having different views when it comes to this, and Mfundisi is also listening as well. Now we bring him in, once in a while. This is your young people's show here today. So from all of you, we spoke about the issues, and Pastor also raised the issues of common language, right? Do you think that the Bible should be translated as the generations goes, as the time goes? I'm not a historian or someone who looks at which Bible was done, right? But I think with my generation, I'm not a millennial. What am I?
I was the one before Gen Z.
I'm joking.
I'm not a millennial. That one I know for sure.
You're not a millennial.
But for example, with my common language, I understand the NIV better than the King James version, right? So I don't know when that one it was written, but I get that. So do you guys think that we should have the Bible translated to fit the generation, meaning the millennials? I even forgot what the millennials were speaking, in the decade ago. We should have had maybe a Bible that came out then to speak how they are speaking, I think the bro issue started then. It's not a new thing. Bro is not a new thing,
Right.
Yeah, it's not a new thing, maybe now, which one is coming after Gen Z, Gen Alpha or Gen, I don't know,
This Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha or whatever. Maybe now the language should be adapted, then the Bible should be adapted. Then what do you guys think? Should we have a Bible with each generation?
So I don't think it's every generation that needs a Bible, like a translation.
Tapu, about they can't see you, so move back a bit.
I'll move back.
Lovely.
Oh,
Thank
okay,
you.
okay,
Yeah,
apologies.
don't hide.
So yeah, caught me. No, so I don't think it's every generation that needs its own translation. I hadn't read that verse, but I guess where I am, I guess mentally with this whole translation and thing, is there's some things that you would not get. For example, if I was to say, or for me personally, because I'm not smart, like only read the King James version,
Sure.
Okay.
from page to page, and tell us what you've learned. And I think you've mentioned the NIV that you
Yes.
read, that you go through the NIV and then you understand it more. I'm not saying that you should maybe only read, the Gen Z Bible. I think that is a great way of getting someone to at least get the concept and then digging deeper, because there's some things that in the NIV can say it, but then once you read the King James version or the Latin version or the Hebrew version, it adds a deeper meaning to it. That's why you hear a lot of pastors in their sermons saying things like, no, and if you look at the Greek or the Hebrew version,
Yeah.
it means this and this and this, and then that adds more emphasis. But that doesn't mean that they negate the King James version or the NIV version. They start off by reading that,
Okay.
and then they explain it to the thing. So I don't think, going back to your point, because I kind of got sidetracked there, I don't think maybe every generation needs, but I think there's always a point in time where language changes.
Okay.
Because like Tatenda Pastor Machamia, sorry, I'm sorry, that's my cousin. So I call him Tatenda, which I'm gonna bring up a bit later on, something about that. But then it's he was talking about like the common language that was used at one point. The King James version was the common language.
Okay.
That's how everyone was speaking. But if someone was to come to you and say, how are you doing? I don't know how they speak, but how are you doing? You wouldn't get everything.
Sure.
So, but then there comes a time where that changes completely, and you start losing the THs at the end of the words, and you start speaking, I guess, your modern English. So perhaps when things change like that, that's when you can have some kind of translation.
For me, it's
not agreeing.
no. It's I totally get him, right? So, like, especially when he spoke about understanding the verse, right? So I was like, when I was busy, like Proverbs 6 verse 1 to 3, it speaks about how, or in the King James version, how you get in like sort of a sticky situation with your bro, right? Which one of your mates?
With your bro, ne?
Yeah, with your
All
bro, right?
So Proverbs 6.
Yeah, Proverbs 6 verse 1 to 3, right?
Okay.
It's basically like it's Solomon, right? Laying game on his younger kids, right? Like if you're in a sticky situation, bro, just calm down, and like especially if you're the one that's wrong, right? Yeah. Now with the Gen Z Bible, it says sticky situation.
Shall I read it?
Please.
Okay,
sticky.
okay. It's sticky, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still
Okay. So
sticky.
Proverbs 6, verses 1. I'll just read it. I should stop at 6, ne?
6 verse 1 to 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay, fine. You guys, yo, dude. If you vouch for your bro and you've made a bond with someone you don't know, you are totally trapped. But what you say, like seriously caught up in the things that come out of your mouth. Yo, listen up, my dude. When you found yourself in a sticky situation with your homie, it's time to work some magic. Show some humility, reach out, and make things right with your friend. Trust me, it's the key to winning them over. But I understand it.
And to his point, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I get it.
There's verses where it makes it understand, because the moment the Gen Z says sticky situation, I'm already thinking some of the sticky situations I've been with my bros. Right? It's either they owe you money, or you owe them money, or you caught up with the same girl. But it's a sticky situation, right? But if you go to the KJV, it doesn't explain it like that. You know, it makes it sound so distant and far. And you know, even like if it's like a 12-year-old reading this, he wouldn't get it, right? So to his point, yes, I 100% understand. Like, there's some verses where like it shouldn't be the only thing you use, right? So if you go King James version and you see it's dribbling me, this one, you know. I think I
should read 3 versions at a time.
Yeah, then you can sort of, you know, balance it out. You know?
Let me start with NIV because it's easy to understand. Okay, so the NIV version says, Proverbs 6, verse 1 to 3. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, if you have struck hands in pledge for another.
Like, what's that?
If you have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, to free yourself, since you have fallen into your neighbor's hands. Go and humble yourself. Press your plea with your neighbor. Yeah.
See, and that's the NIV. That's the easy one, right?
Now imagine if you go to King James version.
I'm going there.
It goes deeper.
Be thou.
My son, if thou be surely, if thou be surety for thy friend, thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger. Thou art snared with the words of thy mouth. Thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself when thou art come into the hand of thy hand. Go humble yourself and make sure thy friend, or shall thou prevail with thy friend? Yeah. All right. Yes, back to your point.
See, so to his point, I totally understand that. I think, like what he says, if you're going to read it, it's more for understanding purposes, right? Like if you see, this verse does not make sure I don't understand what's going on, then you can sort of go like, okay, this is what it's trying to say. Then you go back. But I think reading it just like for edifying yourself, and that's just it only. Yeah, it could be tricky.
You know, so I deal with teenagers a lot, right? And the way they speak and the way they understand things is not the same as the earlier 2000 kids,
okay,
right?
So about Tafazo Sone.
Yeah, about two.
Yeah, you're old, my guy. You're old. Welcome.
2000.
Welcome.
So like the 2000s, like 2000 going up, so 2099, maybe we might squeeze in 2002.
Yeah.
But basically going to the 90s, right? We are able to sort of comprehend what our parents' version of the Bible, we can understand it. So I use the New King James Version.
Okay.
I find that simpler to understand. If something doesn't make sure, I go to that version of the Bible. But now the kids that we have now, the languages that we used is not the same that they use now. Okay. So it evolves with each batch of 2000s. So you guys said the next generation is Generation Alpha or something.
Yes, it's Alpha.
The first few generations have the potential of understanding the Gen Z version now.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is, your question was, do we need a translation
for every generation?
Yeah. I don't think so, but every couple of decades or every couple of generations, the first few generations will understand the previous generations lingo.
Okay.
But the rest then sort of need an adjustment to they need an adjustment to what they understand.
Yeah.
Because I deal with teenagers. I'm a teacher. So when I teach, with the languages that I know, or the English that I know from wherever. They don't hear what I'm saying.
Okay.
But when I sit down and I say, okay, let me come down to your guys' level. Right?
Y'all
That's
guys.
what come down.
No, not come down. It's
Y'all
like,
guys. Y'all
yeah,
guys.
you see, let me come down. No,
Yeah,
not come down.
joking.
But let me
Adjust.
somehow accommodate you guys with your lingo. Then it's easier for them to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. And if I can, like one phrase that I've heard over and over is if it's not, make sure.
Yes, it's not make sure.
Right?
True.
We all know what we're talking about.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
And we're different generations.
And we're all
I believe.
different generations.
Yes.
But that if I'm speaking to somebody and I say no, it's not, make sure, they'll know exactly what I'm
Yes.
saying.
I'm not sure about the older folk though.
No, someone who understands.
Okay.
Well,
Not the senior citizens. Maybe
Guys.
maybe those that birthed them. Our parents would understand what not make sure is,
Yeah.
because we
We
speak like that to them.
Fair.
So they sort of catch on.
Okay, all right. We have a comment. But please, the Gen X or Gen Z Bible. No, X. Which one is X now? Maybe it's a type. It's for the elite kids, right? And then we have Sandy Lemudisa saying, thank you, Jiga, for the honest review. This translation is disrespectful. Imagine I'm talking to your old man like that. Indeed, the shaking is taking place. This version, we as DAs should not entertain at all, right? And then I've practiced this name the whole week. Na une
Nane unane.
Nane unani. Yes.
Yes.
Yay! I practiced this name the whole week. She's saying, for example, with the 3 versions that I read, she's saying that all these verses are different. How I read like all these verses. I remember I read one the same, right? Saying that they're different. And then we have Babzamade, hi husband, saying, I honestly think yes, we do. That's how King James Version came about. But Gen Z language is more like slang than actual English. So I'm gonna bring in Mpundisi now. At home, if you're also listening, you can text us on +27 734 703520. Let's hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts in terms of the different translations of Bibles? Do your children actually read the Gen Z Bible? Would you encourage your children to read the Gen Z Bible? We'll hear that. Mpundisi, what are your thoughts? Should we have a Bible translated for each generation that comes up?
All right. Let me. I think it's important for the Bible to communicate in a way that is clear and easy to understand. For me, when I read, partly.
Mpundisi, we are losing you there. Network is taking.
You must
Okay.
include
So,
that one.
I hope it's better now.
It's a bit better, yes.
Oh, okay. So I was saying, I think the Gen Z Bible, when I'm reading it, it feels like it's trying a little bit too hard. That's basically how it comes across to me. But I'm not opposed to the attempt to make the Bible relevant and to speak in the language of the people. I think it's always important that the Bible speaks in the language of the people. Another challenge that's there is you're looking at it's probably a Bible that's based on kids who are in America, and I'm trying to understand it here. So you may actually need to have something that is speaking to people in each context, in their local language, because English in South Africa, English in Zimbabwe, English in the US are going to be slightly different with slightly different nuances. So you need something that is speaking to people in a way that is easy for them to understand. There's another challenge that I have with or maybe let me not say it now. I'll mention it a little bit later.
But Mfundisi, on that point, I just want to quickly jump in. You're saying that the English is different, right? According to, let me just say, according to each continent. Let's not the countries. Yeah, it's going to take us quite a number of times. But the King James Version that we're currently reading, and there's this church that is advocating that we only read the King James Version, right? It's the same. The King James is the same. The English is the same, whether you are in Asia, whether you're in Europe, and even here in Africa, right? So, what do we say to that? Yes, the Gen Z Bible might have been written with the influence mostly of the American, because you can see, your bros and stuff like that. We don't say that, but even with the other Bibles as well, they do have that particular influence. What do you say then about that?
Okay. Think the King James Version also has things that we can't read in public now. There's certain verses that when you read them, it's profane because those are old English words. We kind of brush them aside because we know that they're talking about a donkey and not something else.
That
So
one.
Yeah.
yeah, so
This one jumped
the
over
King
me,
James Version
It
also
jumped you?
Nah,
has things that are no longer appropriate for church and that are
Mm.
worse when you read them to Gen Z because they don't know what Old English was.
Ha! Fundis.
Yeah, so we need to speak the language of the people. The challenge that is there is that we don't have people translating who actually speak the language that that a particular generation speaks. So by the time Gen Z has the tools to actually translate their own Bible, they are all old and no longer relevant to the current generation.
Okay. So, wait. I'm gonna, please, dear listeners, please forgive me. I'm gonna refer to that. Tafadzo it went over Tafadzo's.
it jumped.
The Tapo explain you. It's better when it comes from you than me.
you know that
Oh yes, we
that
have a
word,
teacher. Yes,
that
we have
word
a
in the
teacher.
Bible
Which
that
word?
describes a donkey, but people use it like
The
as
Nether
a
Okay, yes.
There you go.
the-
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
yes.
Oh, okay. I always thought it was a donkey. Dude.
Huh?
It never clicked. Oh, as in it stayed in the Bible.
It's
Yes.
stated in the Bible, but then if you were to read it, if a young person was to read it
Sure.
today, their mind isn't going to go to donkey.
Exactly. It's like a swear word. They use
It's a
it
swear word nowadays.
as a swear word.
So he's saying that there's some words that were used then that right
That
now
now-
are offensive. In as much as
okay.
like I think I spoke to you about
Yeah.
this the other day, where back in the day,
Uh-huh.
if you're happy,
Yeah.
another word for happy was gay.
Sure.
Now
that's-
you
So now
can't.
if you say
I'm gay. It's derogatory.
it's a different
Mm.
different meaning altogether.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't that equate to sort of understanding the environment that was going on? I mean, when you read the Bible, you read the context, right? So if I'm gonna say that word, the donkey word, then I should be able to understand that. Okay, in this day and age, this was the lingo that was used.
Understandable, but what we're saying is that the generation
Mhm.
now
Mhm.
They
isn't
don't
necessarily
understand it that
privy
way.
to that understanding.
Okay.
That
Fair.
so I think in as much as I get what you're saying, and I also get like what Tatenda say. I get the
Pastor.
I get. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Pastor Machamir. I'm so sorry, Pastor Machamir. But then this is an excellent point to kind of segue to. Whereas there was the comment about it's disrespectful,
Yes.
right? But then disrespectful to whom?
Mm.
In the sense, if I may, without being persecuted first.
Okay,
In
we're
the
gonna
sense-
keep down. All of us
yeah.
calm.
In the sense that there's some things that I will say when I'm speaking to Pastor Machamire,
Yes.
that people would like. I remember there was a time because me and him are more or less the same age,
Yes.
and we've grown up as he was my cousin before he was a pastor.
Yes.
So when I speak to him, I'll be like, "Yo, what's up?" Right?
Mhm.
Or and then I remember getting looks like, "Oh, to the Mfundis." Oh, you're saying what's up to the Mfundis? And even now when I'm saying his name, it is Pastor Machamir. Or when I'm speaking to my dad, like my father personally, like I remember I was on a call with my dad, and I'm like, "Hey Dad, what's up?" Like I say what's up to my dad. And someone was just kind of listening in on the call, and then I was like, "All right, love you, Dad, bye." Then I hung up, and they're like, "Huh, you speak to your dad, you say what's up?" So there's some things
Yeah.
that might seem disrespectful,
To other people.
but then it's not even disrespectful. Like when I speak to Pastor Machimiria, I say I'm
We
getting- I'm
forgive
getting
you now.
hurt.
Now we get the
when,
context.
when I speak to him,
yeah.
when I speak to him, and I'm saying, "Yo, what's up?" It's coming from an honest place of love.
Mm.
In as much as when I'm saying, "Hey, what's up, Dad?" It's honestly a place of love. And to the point of the pastor where he was saying it was written with a Western generation that might say things like "dude" or what was the other one? Homies, referring to adults and not necessarily find it disrespectful.
Sure.
So that's where I'm coming at with disrespectful to who. So we'll have to be careful that it's not a personal preference. I get what Pastor Machimera is saying about it feeling like it's trying too hard because I feel like it was an old person who wrote it, and they asked their kids, "What are the lingo?" And then they just started slotting them in everywhere. So I get that. It feels like it's trying a bit too hard, but at the same time, I am also for the attempt of trying to make things more understandable or relatable.
It was when I was checking it out. So to our listeners, we do have Tapula Malloy in studio. He will speak as well because he's burning. I can see him burning. It was when I was checking it. It's Gen GPT. So it has some bit of AI in it. So it's Gen GPT that assisted in the writing of this one. So I wanted to come to this point. We having a problem, and Pundits raised it, that there are some words, for example, in the King James Version that we tend to run away from saying currently, right? Like the issue of the donkey and it being an ass in the beginning, right? In the olden language. You see, Tapelo is already saying that I'm swearing, but that's how it is in the in the Bible, right? And then also the issue that Tapua is raising, that offensive to who, disrespectful to who, right? So for example, when my son speaks to me, there are some words that I look at him, I'm like, hey, when you understand? But there are some words that I actually let it go because I'm like, it's how they're expressing themselves. I learned off the word cook like recently. Like it's not the cooking of the pot.
Yeah, let him cook. Like let me speak.
Yeah, you know. And then the other day was like, yo, mom, you cooking? And I'm like, huh?
What do you mean?
I'm not even in the kitchen. You know, so we let certain things pass. So if we are going to struggle, and point is, I'll also bring you in this one on the theological point. I see their comments coming through. If we are going to read the King James Version and struggle to say the word as, are we going to be comfortable, for example, to the two that I said that they are okay with? Not, yeah, I'll just say you guys are 50-50 for King James Version, right? Sorry, the Gen Z Bible. Are we saying that when we're reading this one, because the younger people can understand it, where it says dope AF, are we going to mute that? You understand? What's the point then of having all of these words that at the end of the day, we're going to struggle saying them when now we are preaching, when now we are on the pulpit? Because there are some people that are having a problem, for example, when the Gen Z Bible say the top G, you know, saying, it's disrespectful. So what are we going to do? We are moving in a generation where the younger people, this is their language. This is how they speak. I mean, there was a time where I had a problem when my son called me old lady. I'm like, hey, I'm not that old, right? But that is the language that they speak. With us, I couldn't call my mom old lady. Like, ma. You understand? We couldn't do that. But now, this is where now they are. Sometimes, some people have a problem when the younger people call them timer. That's respectful, depending on the language where you grew up, you know. So how are we going to navigate this space? I would like to know.
I think, sorry, before Mfundisi comes in,
right?
I think that whole dope AF can easily be, we can substitute it. There is a word that can express the exact same thing without using AF.
Which is?
You could say dope without saying anything.
Exactly. You can, you can just keep it. Yeah, you could just keep it as some whatever dope.
No, but isn't sus suspect?
Sus.
Yes. Slaps.
Suspicious.
Oh, slaps. I said slaps. It slaps.
Oh.
Yeah, it slaps.
You see,
So,
you get confused.
So, thing is, AF doesn't have an animal. It is a swear word.
Yeah.
Okay.
S is an animal. It has donkey. Well, it's a
It's a donkey.
But now it was never meant to be a swear word. AF is a swear word. It originated as a swear word. So now,
I disagree.
how?
Okay, we're not gonna. Okay, wait. Before people, I won't say what they said. I remember there was I used to work with this Indian people at this other place some years back, and then this guy, he took us and taught us what that F word, its actual meaning, the full on meaning.
Okay.
And then people back then, they just it to what it is today. So I okay, yeah, I don't know.
But see, the kids know it as a swear,
A swear
word.
word, yeah.
So when we translate it, we can, AF can be really cut out, hey?
Yeah.
It really can be cut out.
Okay.
So I don't think anybody would be comfortable going on the pulpit saying,
No, I would.
dope S.
Mm.
No. No.
Yeah, Tapa, you would.
No, I said I wouldn't. Wouldn't.
Okay.
Would not. and this is I'm saying thank you, Bennett. so and bear in mind, I'm not gonna be the first one to read the Gen Z Bible.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not me trying to like defend it to be like, oh, so I can read or whatever it is. There've been times even kind of set, taking a bit of a left turn to the way that people pray.
Yeah.
I've heard people say, like Dad instead of our Heavenly Father.
Okay.
And like there was a time where I heard like Gen Z, someone saying, "Shout out to you, God,"
Okay.
in a prayer.
Okay.
And for me, I was like,
At that time.
At that time.
Yeah.
But then, like, I also need to understand that I'm not in their heart and I'm not in their mind. So I don't know exactly what they're thinking. If they're doing it just for show, shame on them. But then the good thing about salvation is at the end of the day, God knows your heart.
Yeah.
And it's about what's in your heart, what you're actually feeling. So if you're reading the Gen Z Bible just so that you can say some words that you're not allowed to say, then shame on you. And God is gonna figure that out. But then I also find it very hard for me to be like, don't do that. Because there's some things that I do myself, like saying what's up to my dad, where people are like,
But it's your personal relationship, isn't it?
There's that part.
Okay.
But also God says, talk to me like I'm your friend.
Yeah.
There are people that say, they say, what you call this, bra God instead of God.
Opera Jesus.
Oh yeah, Opera Jesus or whatever the case may be. It's not that it's disrespect. I don't think that it's disrespect because God says, come to me and talk to me like I'm your friend. That's how you speak. If I go to Tafatwa, I'm not gonna
But I'm not gonna sustain you though. I'm not gonna wake you up tomorrow.
All right, let's bring in
the pastor.
Yeah. Before the pastor, let's bring in the elder. He's an elder pillar.
Okay, elder. Okay.
He's first checking if he's proper on camera.
Yes, please.
Oh!
Yo.
What's up?
How you all? I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
What's popping?
We're cooking.
You see, I'm there. You know?
We're cooking.
almost.
So I think I gate crushed this conversation.
And
right?
you're gonna stay.
No, time is money,
Okay.
Yeah. Unless I charge the station, then yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, so I've got two things, right? The first one that I was asking on the WhatsApp group was WhatsApp channel was what was the point of this Bible? Like, I'm trying to get the point. Is it to make the message easier to understand, or is it that there's a generation that doesn't understand NIV? There's even good news, my goodness. There's all these translations, and I think with every translation there was an objective behind it. There was a reason, right? So I'm just wondering if we're going to use the words like yo, dad, braji in that Bible, and I'm just, from the conversation. So that was my first question. What is the point of translating it to this level? The second question that I wanted to ask was, where do we draw the line? like draw a line in the sand. And I understand that communication, I think someone earlier on said, it's about communication, making things easier and all that. But in our making these things easier, where do we draw the line? Because I think there's an element where we kind of, delve into territories we shouldn't be delving into. I think that's just my two questions that I have as I move out of the studio.
No, I can. We have to answer you. Yes, Tapu.
So in terms of the line, the way I see the line is once the message changes, because I think the message from start to finish needs to be the same. God is the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow, and forever. So I think once that message changes, that is where we are starting to lose the plot. And I think I didn't write the Bible, the Gen Z Bible. I didn't translate it, but my assumption is the reason for that translation was to make it understandable to a new way of speaking, like the way that the kids are speaking these days. Because believe it or not, that is how they're speaking. And it's funny that we could say, okay, no, they can speak like that out there, but then they can't necessarily speak like that in here. And then my question is like, now why is it either way they're speaking out there is wrong and they shouldn't speak like that out there so that they don't speak like that in there? Or if we say, okay, they can speak like that out there, they bring the way that they speak. I feel like the elder is gonna cook me out.
So no.
He's cooking.
So the words like AF or whatever, are they based on what you're saying, then acceptable? Because is that AF now changing the entire thing, or is just making the thing better understandable?
No, so I don't know whether you were here. I said I hadn't read that part, and I'm not subscribing to that.
Okay.
I think what I am subscribing to is the attempt to make things more
relevant,
relevant but understandable.
Yeah.
I think like my pastor was saying earlier, it seems like this Gen Z Bible is trying too hard. I feel I said this earlier. There was like a parent who said, write a list of all the words that the kids use these days.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, let me just pepper it in the entire Bible. I don't agree with that.
So you're saying there's a line in the sand that we should draw. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying there's a line in the sand. One being, or the line being, the message being the same. And I think also the intent. I also talked a little bit about what's in your heart, because I feel like, and I can't, be 100% because I don't know this person who wrote it, who translated. But if it's just a thing of saying, let me use all the cool words and be hip and relevant, and I don't think that's.
I think what do they call him? The dude upstairs. He understands.
but okay, Pastor, I'm gonna bring you in now.
Okay.
Because for me, okay, Pastor, come in. My comment ran away.
All right. Yeah. Obviously, in the Bible, there's no room for profane language.
Yes.
But we also want to understand that the Bible is a serious text.
Okay.
It's not a social media post.
Right.
So you want to understand the difference between that. Yeah. So what I would say is, what are the textbooks doing? Because it's not like Gen Z doesn't understand the textbooks they are reading.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They've got an understanding of textbooks. If someone in Gen Z walks into the courtroom,
How does it speak?
they're not going to go, yo, judge, what's up?
It's not me, Your Honor. It's Cap.
I'm not a sass.
They address the judge in a proper and relevant manner. So there's no need for us to be trying to go right to the cutting edge of every single thing in order to convey meaning. But we also shouldn't go too far behind the current trends, the current language that is there when it comes to reading the Bible. Because I think when we read the Bible, you also want to reduce friction as much as possible. So if I'm going to read a Bible written in Old English, and then I have to think, oh, what does this mean? What was the context? And maybe I have to get a dictionary and check what did gay mean then, there's too much friction. It defeats the purpose of translating the Bible. If I'm going to have to go to a dictionary to understand the Bible, I might as well just only have the Greek Bible and the Hebrew Bible. So the purpose of translating is to make sure that everybody is able to read the Bible with as little friction as possible.
Yeah, intelligence runs in the family, ne? Clearly. That's what I wanted to say.
Oh,
That's
You just stole your words.
he
snatched
translated them. He translated
He
them.
snatched them. He snatched them. So another one that I wanted to us to look at, Yane, I don't want us to really to dwell on the AF part, but I'm gonna just ask one question there, and then we move right along. Right? Isn't it a wake up call as well to us as people or the slightly older folk to look at that? Are we normalizing what's not normal in our languages, and we are actually allowing it? Case in point, guys, like, let's all be honest, these children, they use these words out there, right? So for me, it's the fact that, yes, I understand Pastor mentioned that, for example, the Gen Z Bible has an influence of mostly Americans and stuff like that. It's a language that's out there. I mean, all of us here, we didn't need to define what that word is. We knew what that word is. For the older folks, like, cringe, they're swearing. But for the Gen Zs, it's a normal word. In fact, sometimes they even use it to praise
Yeah.
in a positive light than what our generation will be like, that's cursing. But for them, it would not be, right? So wouldn't it be that we are normalizing what's not supposed to be normal? Hence, now we are even finding it in the Word of God, in the Bible, because as much as, yes, the textbooks are there, they have to read, they have to study, we have to cross-reference and everything else. This is the language that they understand. This is the language that they are using now to communicate.
I think for me, especially I think we've become what's the word I'm looking for? Desensitized. You see, I'm used to lingo now. I can't use proper English. We've become desensitized to this thing because we're always saying AF, AF, AF,
Yeah.
So it's now a thing of like, what's AF, dude? Like, really? Like,
It's not that deep.
It's not exactly, don't stress about it. It's not that deep. So I think with that being said, like, I think there's things that we've desensitized, right? Because like I was thinking, like, just jumping onto that point, it's like, how back, I mean, in the olden days when you had the Ark of the Covenant, which was very sacred, right? And it's starting to show that we don't have anything sacred anymore that belongs to God, or we don't treat it as much with respect and honor, and because this is our Creator. As much as, yes, it says, "Come to me as a friend," but it also says, "Fear me." Because because he's my friend, he's my father, he's my warrior, he's my judge, he's my yonkinto. Right? So I think there's times where we need to understand where we're addressing him. I can be having a conversation by myself with God, right? In my car driving. Then I can be like, yo, dude, this guy just cut me off. What's up with this guy? You know what I mean? I think that will be fine. But if you're gonna put it in a Bible, like it's I think it's losing the essence and
the reverence.
The reverence and the whole, like the whole, okay, not the holiness, because the holiness is in the meaning of it, but like it's losing that respect we had for it. Because now it's just gonna be like, dude, like there's a hashtag and emojis. If we're gonna start with one emoji, we wanna have GIFs in the Bible most.
You can't have GIFs.
Or stickers. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't see where it's going to stop.
You're passionate, yes.
So I have a question though.
He doesn't like it.
I have a question. Yeah. You're talking about like when you're in traffic and then you say, "Yo, this guy cut me off."
Yeah.
Would you pray like that in front on the pulpit?
No.
Why? What's the difference? Because this is just me just asking a question. Yeah.
Remember, so I think growing up they'll teach us that, like, yes, as much as you pray, but you must know when to pray and how to pray and whatever, right? I'm in front of people. There's a way I address people, right? Take an example. If you're in a boardroom, you're not gonna use AF.
Well, right? It depends. It depends
on the culture.
With the culture of the company. Yeah.
But regularly, almost like on a normal basis, you don't find you using lingo in a boardroom with shareholders. No, I don't think no matter what company you're in, is if you have people's money, you don't use certain languages. So in my thing is, if I'm standing in front of people, these are people that came to worship God, and usually it's sort of in church, and there's a reverence. There's, we've sang the first song, we've prayed, we pray for the Holy Spirit to come down, and then when it starts like being my G, and I think it says, don't do it for the weaker brethren, something like that, right? You don't want to disturb someone's peace. Now they can't hear what God has for them. You know what I mean? So I think that's just more of a presentation purpose more than anything. And that's what I'm starting to find, that we are going to lose that thing of like, we need to read the room. Like, okay, yes, I'm in a Bible, but it should be a standard thing, right? Just like how you have a book, right? You don't get I don't know, funny linguistics in okay, I did accounting. You would never find funny, weird English in a standard for accounting, right? It sets the what do you call it? It sets the tone, or like how it should be addressed, right? Then when you are now conversing with other people, then you can sort of change and divert and put it in your own words. But it's supposed to be a standard, right? So now when we're constantly switching and changing, one, we get into the risk of we losing the essence of the meaning.
Right.
Right. Two, I think as much as it conveys the overall message of it, but the nuances, the small details that we don't get, I think we're at risk of losing sort of some of those things.
Right.
Right. I don't know if you guys look like, I don't know how it translates. Like we believe in prophecy and all that. Have you tried to read like a prophecy, a verse in the Gen Z Bible? It's quite.
I think we should go there to Daniel.
Yeah.
The revelation doesn't open. FYI doesn't.
So that's shaky. Like, why wouldn't Revelation open?
That's still translating.
Apparently, it doesn't.
So I get what you mean, but you mentioned something that made like it raised my ears a little bit when you said when we're constantly switching and changing and all that stuff. But why are we switching and changing?
I think it's to accommodate everyone, right? I think it's to accommodate sort of holistically everyone from age. I don't know, so when you can start reading to like probably when you stop, when you can't see or whatever. But like it's I think in specific to this point, like we're trying to be inclusive of everyone.
Right. Now, if I could stop you there, I'm so sorry. This just became a debate.
Like,
so in that way, if you're addressing people in Zambian church, conservative church, and you're addressing people at one of the ones. You see where I'm going with this? And you're addressing with the ones in Santon.
Okay.
There's gonna be a difference. You see, because you're accommodating people,
sure.
But it's accommodating them, which is, I think, to the point of the context of this Gen Z Bible was for the Western thing. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then we also have to be very cognizant of where, when, and who when it comes to that, because there is that change that happens, and it happens for a specific reason, which I think the attempt is needed. I don't think these guys maybe hit the mark with the Gen Z, but maybe I'm just being old. But then I think the attempts are needed.
Wait, guys, wait. Okay, wait. We'll come back. Okay, Pastor, 2 seconds.
Yes, Pastor.
There's a comment. I also want you to speak on it as well. Coming through from Derek, saying that we need to understand that God is our friend, but not our pal. He's not our chomi. Like, he's not our chomi. He's not our pal. Mfundi. So you can come in, Mfundi, and also speak to that one.
Okay. All right. So maybe let me say, yes, we need to approach scripture and the Bible and everything with the right understanding of the relationship and the hierarchy that's there. God is not our equal. God is our superior. We owe God our life. And I think I also agree with what Tafazwa said about a difference between how you might relate to God in your private corner and how you do that in public, because in public there are people who may see things differently. So if you come and pray exactly how you pray in private, you shock us all. You offend other people. So read the room, understand where you are, and talk to God, understanding where you are. I think the other thing that I wanted to talk about is why we need to constantly change and add to our translations. Because,
Okay.
well, if you speak more than one language, if you're bilingual or something, sometimes you translate something and you try and think, did I say it right? Did I express it right?
Yes.
And then maybe an hour later, that's when a new way of translating it dawns on you, and you're like, I should have said it this way. Or I should have said it that way. So there's a lot of nuances that are skipped when we are reading the Bible in English that are there in the original language. So we constantly need a, a large body of translations and to read many translations just to capture those different nuances. So even if you already have the NIV, you'll still have a new revised standard version. You'll still have a new American standard version. You'll still have the English standard version, because each of these may capture nuances slightly differently. So we need to continue to add to the body of translation, even without thinking about how are we talking to Gen Z or how are we talking to new generations.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to answer the question of how have we captured the translation, the best way is by reading many. So the work of translation is never going to stop until Jesus comes.
I want to read this one. Malachi chapter. I think you should say it under this one. Right in front this, me and you, we love this scripture, ne?
Is it
Yeah.
offered to you reading?
I want to hear it.
I think so.
All right. It says here, yo, make sure you bring all your tithes to the storehouse so there's enough food in my crib. And check this, the Lord of hosts challenges you to test him on this. If he won't open up the heavens for you and shower you with so many blessings that you won't even have space to contain them, it's gonna be like heaven's faucets. Isn't it faucets or
Faucets.
faucets? Yes, wide open, pouring out blessings non-stop. Fundis, wouldn't you use this? When you're speaking to the younger people, for them to bring tithes and offering.
Yeah, I probably would. There's a couple of things that I would change. I think I'll still use floodgates.
Okay. So you don't get stuck on the word like me, because Asia. So it's for me, I found it quite interesting. So what also I want to hear from, I know these two, they decided to have a conversation amongst themselves and they left us. Like, imagine, right?
Sorry.
Like, they're so sass.
Very.
Very suspicious. So are we what I also want us to get to, right? So for example, I've been the whole week I've been playing on the Gen Z Bible. I don't know why they don't have the book of Revelation yet. Maybe they're still
loading.
Yeah, they're still translating it. I don't know, but they have all the other versions. The chapters and the books there. And also, if you are using the web, you get to see the Gen Z and the KJV. They are parallel.
Yeah.
Together. Yeah. Woo, English is mlume is running away. So if we didn't have words such as AF, because I think that's the most glaring one.
Yeah.
What do we say this Bible is okay?
So for me, I feel like I'm talking too much. For me, I let him cook.
Yeah.
No, for me, I feel like personally, because I feel like if I'm reading it, I'm trying to be something that I'm not. I don't like normally speak like that. Like I understand it. Like if I'm speaking to, man, I'm sounding so old. If I'm speaking to like someone who's young, who's using these words, I can hold a conversation with them. But I don't think I would necessarily read it myself, just because I don't normally. I would feel like I'm trying to be something that I'm not. It's like I'm trying to be cool.
Okay.
I think for me, I did make a solid stand that I think even if without the swear words or I think the emojis, even like it has sort of like funny commentary, right? Like I think I was sharing it in our Yamo group yesterday, right? And the leader was like, dude, this thing is funny. Like I'm entertained, like I'm laughing alone in the house, But I'm just like,
wait, Tafazo, which Bible do you use?
Which Bible do I use?
On a daily
version.
On a daily, a King James version. Oh no, New King James. New King James. I mean, as much as I'm going to struggle to read it, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I understand that archaic English, but I think it's for me. I'm trying to preserve the emotions within the text because I feel like it's losing that. Like it's. I think when we read Mike, it says, "Do not rob God." That's very serious. You must not touch His money. You know what I mean? And then you're saying, "I do just bring to my crib." I'm just like, now I'm starting to think of MTV Base. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking of.
Here's the funny.
I just read that scripture now. Here, let me read it. Can I please?
What's funny though is cribs is something from our generation.
Sure,
it's not from
Yes.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
So when you say cribs,
they
don't even know
I don't
what
MTV
crib
base.
like it's from an MTV base.
I understand what cribs means. I was just there. I'm not a
You're not there.
2000. I'm just
So
there.
it says, we start from 8. Yes, verse Malachi 3:8. Ne? Like seriously, dude, would someone even dare to steal from God? But guess what? You totally robbed him, man. And you're stealing, and you sitting there, but be like, whoa, hold up. When did we rob God? I just had to read it like that. Hold up. And when did we rob God, right? Let me tell you, it's in your total neglect of giving your tithes and offering. Bro, you straight up cursed, man. You being stealing from me like the entire nation.
Okay, see that one portrays the message.
But it says rob. You see,
I even it brings it close. Like, hey, my guy, you're robbing from God. Him? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think for me, I wouldn't read it for myself, but if I'm addressing the youth, the younger generation, the Gen Zs of this, I'm saying this like I'm not a Gen Z. But if I'm addressing the younger ones, it's good to have for better understanding. It's
supplementary.
Yeah, it gets them, it meets them at their level and their understanding. Do you understand?
So Derek sent through a picture of how the Bible would, because it's being sold on Amazon, right? So he's saying this is how the book is sold on Amazon. It says the New Testament for Gen Z, unofficial ChatGPT translation for Gen Z. He's saying that this is how the book is being sold on Amazon. When I look at what the translation is based on, are we not maybe making a big fuss over nothing, running around scared over steam, not even smoke? I disagree though.
Same. Because I think, remember, this is progressive culture, right?
Okay.
Is that we are constantly, I think you guys know the Kaizen principle, it's always around, Instagram, they're always like posting it, right? Which means consistent progression over time, right? Which means the older generation before us, I think it's Generation X, my parents, right? At some point, their impact is not going to be felt 2-3 generations from now, right? So if you're going to say it's sort of like pop inflates, it's not that big of a deal. Let's think about 3-4 generations from now and how much it would have impacted. Because the New King James Version, it won't essentially be existent. Would probably be relying, because there will be like the makulus of the church now, and they're basing it off Gen Z. It's quite out. And now I'm thinking, then how would they, like how we have the quarterly lesson, how would they bring out the quarterly lesson now?
There's a song I saw on TikTok, but I won't play.
You see, so I think as much as, yes, we want to be progressive and it's not much of a big deal now, but I don't think it's thinking 3-4 generations from now, and when they are the elders of the church and they're supposed to lead the church.
I can imagine.
But remember what the pastor said in the beginning.
Yeah.
He said, with all the different translations, it's been controversial.
That's true.
Yeah.
So perhaps
it could be.
Again, please, guys, don't sanction me, guys.
No, censure is better. We won't call your dad.
No. I like I mean, there are. I think there's the good, and I think there's the bad that we've also
Fair.
discussed. But I think that comes with the translation,
Sure.
where there's gonna be controversy.
Fair.
Mm.
True. And I think getting to his point, I think when I was also researching, I think it's powered by AI. So it's not someone physically going to type it down and be like, yo, I saw the word bro, then I'm gonna add it on. So it's basically taking things from the internet and how we interact.
So it's AI.
It's AI.
Okay.
So
It's
it could be
ChatGPT.
It uses algorithm.
yes. So it could be altered and like I mean focused on if I'm
Nah,
catering for
wait,
the South
guys.
African audience.
Nah,
Then-
I disagree.
How so?
Before I come, here's a comment. I don't think the Gen Z Bible is meant as a real translation, but as a way to get attention, right? Are we here? Mfundisi, you also come in here because when you've read multiple Bibles, I agree you're a pastor. Unlike as we read NIV, we are done. We don't even need to check the original text or anything. I get that. Now we're gonna argue the issue of it's powered or it has some bit of AI into it. And I remember my husband the other day saying, guys, don't be like that with AI. It's not independent of its own. It needs a human input in order for it to work. Right? And we're not really smoke and stream and everything else. Are we not? For example, when Derek sent me the Great Bible, I didn't understand a word they were saying in that Bible because of how the letters were mixed together. When the King James Version came out, yes, there was controversy. Wasn't it that the people were used to, for example, I don't know the years, I did say the disclaimer, were used to the Great Bible, that now they're like, this translation is not make sure, right? When the NIV came, maybe they went during that time, people were like, yay. Because what I want to say, for lack of a better word, sorry, I'm like Tapua now, also don't censure me, brainwashed into reading the King James Version. Do you understand? Because for me now, it's like the Bible that when you first started reading, you read, you are more inclined to that Bible than any other version. Am I right or wrong? True, right? I remember when then my friend, now who's my husband, he bought me a Bible. I was like, please go and buy me the King James Version. I can tell you now, I have that Bible. It's too precious to me, but I struggled reading it. But because in my mind I was like, King James Version is
The Holy Spirit.
the Bible. Do you understand? I went and bought that Bible. So isn't it that also from this you also have to come in here? Isn't it that we have been, lack of a better word, someone please text a better word, I don't want to say brainwashed, conditioned to believe that the King James Version is the Bible. Even the New King James Version, now we are a bit taking to it, but we lean to it more than the Easy Bible, than the American Standard. Message Foot is a translation, we don't even consider it yet, right? Isn't it because we are conditioned to the fact that any other new translation now that comes, let's remove the word AF in the Gen Z Bible. Isn't it a good Bible because we can easily understand it, even though some of us had to take a week to understand what SAS means? It took me a week. Yes, for this.
Now, I think there's a lot of themes that have come up,
Yeah.
which I think are relevant, and some that I was saving for later in the show. Probably it's easy for me to say now. So, I think the issue is we need to understand how this Gen Z Bible is meant to be used in the first place. I don't think it's a translation or it's a text that we should take too seriously, because whoever is behind it also wasn't very serious about the process of translation.
ChatGPT.
Why? they used AI, and the input that's there is basically they're taking from the King James and trying to make
Yes.
the King James relevant to our language today, which
Yes.
isn't the best approach to translation, because you're translating a translation, which means
Hey.
there's meaning that's not going to be conveyed
Yeah.
properly.
Cool, Pastor.
The best way to translate a Gen Z Bible would actually be to go from Greek
Okay.
and then try to get that Greek into Gen Z language. that would be an attempt that I would actually be excited about, and I would be happy to recommend to people. But because this is just based on the King James, I feel it's really not adding value. There's no new knowledge. It's not like there's new insights into how to read the Greek in my language today. So that's the challenge that I've got with the Gen Z. And then when you add the fact that this is AI, it also says don't take this too seriously, because AI has a tendency to hallucinate. Yes, it's a great tool.
Hallucinate.
Yeah, hallucinate. That's actually the technical term that the computer engineers use, because there's some wrong answers that AI is going to give you.
Yes.
And it also doesn't always moderate itself well. So I think for translation, you still need a group of human beings who will come and moderate the content. So my feeling is we are actually not taking Gen Z seriously enough. We should have done better and gone into the Greek, gone into the Hebrew, and you try to translate it into Gen Z language.
That's what I wanted to say, guys.
Oh,
that exactly word for word.
Well, I got the notes from Tapua.
There you go.
No, this
family
family
sticks together, guys.
No. This family, busy with family affairs here. No.
So here's a comment. Lebu, maybe you can, because you deal with the younger ones, right? Derek is coming through saying, but really, if we can say we believe translation written by ChatGPT, not a study committee, and we have our faith based on that, if we are lost as a result, then we deserve to be lost, guys. Yeah. Speaking of trying to make the KJV modern, there is the KJV 2000 and the MKJV, modern KJV, which removed the these and the thous. What are your thoughts on that? For me, yeah, okay, you first.
Wait, come again.
So he's saying that if we're going to believe in a Bible that is written by, let's say, AI, ChatGPT, then we are lost.
We deserve to be lost.
We deserve to be lost. Do you agree?
If we are lost.
I'm going to say yes and no.
Okay.
Right. I don't think we are entirely lost, because we still have reference to your NIVs, your New King James, your King James, and all those. So it's easy if you feel like, okay, maybe this Bible is leading me astray, but let me go back to the original. Well, it's not the original, but what I know and what I grew up with. So I think we're not completely lost.
Yeah.
We can always come back. There's a return flight. It's not a one-way ticket. You can come back.
Me, I want to defend AI. I'm holding myself.
Because in a couple of generations, people will be saying the original one, the one that we grew up to,
and
Gen Z.
Yes.
In a couple of generations.
You know, actually, I was thinking, we are busy talking about how the Gen Z Bible is a bit cringe, right? What if those people back then were also, when they translated the New King James, they're like, this is cringe.
The NIV.
They were doing what we are doing now with their Bible.
Thank you. Me, that's why I said I want to defend AI, but I won't at this point in time. Anyway, so we are nearing the end. If you also do have a comment that you want to say in terms of Bible translation, should we continue translating the Bibles, or the ones that we have? They're enough, ne? They're right. We don't need more. There is I forgot who raised the issue of losing the message and everything else. Having played on the Gen Z, I went like, okay, browsed on the J.
Playing.
No, yeah, browsed. Like now, I'm trying to be, not to get into too much trouble, because having browsed through the Gen Z Bible. Yes, I didn't browse through the Greek and the Hebrew, but the message did not change. It's just how the message is being said. It didn't change.
That's true. I think.
So if the message didn't change, guys, like, Yo,
the
my
fuss?
peeps, what's the fuss about? I mean, like,
Is it really that deep?
Is it really that deep though? Or they should read, and then maybe as they are reading, as we've removed the word to donkey, we can remove the
AF.
AFs to something
Exactly.
else, and then we let it be, because the message did not change. Unless if someone can come and say, no, the message changed. If I'm going to be comfortable, for example, Tafazwa, you're reading the King James Version. If we are comfortable reading the King James Version, Haibo, why are you not comfortable reading this one? Because the message you're getting from the King James Version is the same we're getting here. It's just that it's said differently. It has, yo, bro.
What do you do?
Can I jump in a little bit?
Yes.
Being an African child, my parents are both African, and having different African friends, and even let's just say Black American friends.
Yeah.
There's certain ways that our parents apologize to us.
Yeah.
I'm going somewhere.
They
with
do?
this.
Okay.
So if
my
no, you see they do they won't
they
necessarily
do.
and I've been fortunate enough to have parents who, my parents, they actually say sorry
then
now.
apologize.
It's crazy, but like, you have parents who, they're like, are you hungry?
Yeah.
And that's
Go
them saying,
get
I'm
some
sorry.
cold drink in the
Let's
fridge.
go get some cold drink.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's
Do you
go.
want
Let's,
McDonald's?
let's
Yeah.
go. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's ways of saying different things. And I think we also have to understand, going a bit to your point, that there's certain ways of certain people saying things. So going kind of full circle back to who it's written for, the context that it's written for, there's certain ways that this Gen Z speaks that, even though it is not changing the message, someone could take it the wrong way.
Okay.
So, for example,
I take
the top G,
yes.
someone would take that as disrespect,
Yes.
but someone else could take that as the ultimate compliment. Oh, he's saying he's the top G. Okay,
Yes.
that means he's him. I think I saw one of
He's the
those.
guy he
He's
thinks
him.
he is.
You know, and that gets as much respect from, I'm not going to say me, but from someone who understands that context, as someone who says, I'm Alpha and Omega. So the message has not changed, but it could come out differently. So I guess that's the danger of the Gen Z Bible. So the people reading it
should be.
One, I stand with the pastor a little bit to say, I wish they'd gone to the original Greek and then translated it then. But I think the people who are reading it should also not take it like, okay, this is the final thing. Maybe going through it, and then, like you saying, going through the King James Version, or things that have actually gotten direct translation from the Greek or from the Hebrew, to get the full context of things without necessarily, losing their way. And if it does offend you, guys, doing this,
Is that
I like it's not that difficult.
fair?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, what happened, just
Close your
yeah. You have the
Mind
NIV,
your
you have the
business and
King
drink
James
water.
Version. I don't think this should be the be it and end all of scripture.
sure.
But at the same time, don't now, if there's a Gen Z who's reading that Gen Z Bible, I won't be like, yo, why are you doing that? Because I won't be like, hey, why are you doing that? You shouldn't be reading that, blah, blah, blah. Because one, that might even push them further away from the gospel.
Fair.
True.
The fact that they've picked up any kind of Bible means there is some kind of searching that is happening.
Yes. Cook,
So we
my
have
guy.
to listen.
Cook.
So we have to be very careful to that. Yes, it might feel disrespectful to you, and to be honest, there are times where I'm like, that doesn't sit right, but for me to now start saying you shouldn't do this, rather guide, that's kind of my piece to this. And I got the notes from Tatenda.
All right, with closing remarks as we're about to end.
I think come back to me.
Okay. Tapanzo.
I think going back to the whole, I mean, reminiscing and thinking about the whole conversation we just had now, I think the one giveaway, or the one takeaway I have from this is that this this translation is not the alpha and the omega of all Bibles, right?
Okay.
It's sort of an enabling tool for you to understand, right? It shouldn't be, if you're going to use it as your number one to go to, just be very cognizant that one was made by AI, so there might be mistakes like AF, right? But also I think I like what the pastor said, is that I think there needs to be more effort into refining it. I think we're not against the idea, it's just how they approached it and where it's at currently now. And it was me that they're selling it already with an AF.
It's
right?
a draft.
It's right. Imagine handing in your final paper and it's a draft. It really doesn't make, so I think there needs to be more caution and more time and more effort and more resources put into making this Gen Z Bible, to make sure that it's just not for the generation, the 2000s. It can last 30. I mean, look at how KJV has lasted for how many centuries?
No,
but I'm just saying, it's just an example, right? It's lasted for so long. And I think we need to create sort of something that of course, it doesn't last as long as a KJV or New King James or an NIV, but it's something that can transcends different generations. And I think a caution to the young ones that are listening to this, it's not the alpha and omega of everything. And I think that's from me.
Drops mic. Liv.
All right. So I'm going back to what Tatenda said, right? That if you find a young person,
Tapiwa.
who's Tatenda?
Tatenda is the pastor.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. It's my fault because I've said.
It's not like God.
and you see what I'm saying? You see the way people react. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm the one that set this whole thing in motion. I'm so sorry. I need to learn to say Mfundis the rest of. Sorry.
It's okay.
Tapiwa.
Yes.
Okay,
Tapiwa.
I mix up the names. Okay. So going back to what Tapiwa said about if a young person is picking up the Bible and unfortunately, it's not unfortunate, but it so happens to be the Gen Z Bible, we can't be the ones to condemn them and say, no, this is wrong. Because we live in a world where a lot of the youth, they left the church because they feel they're being excluded.
Yeah.
And this is a way, like Tafato said, it's not the be all and end all, but it's a way to bring back those that might have left or those that were thinking of leaving in terms of the younger generation. To say, yes, we hear what you're saying, we're accommodating you to a certain point. So we can't be very condemning of the Gen Z Bible. We need to refine it, get another draft out. Have a little bit of the human aspect in it and less AI put into it and all those things, because we don't want to lose people because we are forcing them to read a certain version of the Bible.
Yeah.
Because we all had choices on the Bibles or the versions of the Bible that we want to read. For example, me and Tafazo read the New King James. You read the NIV. You read the NIV. Oh, sir, it's equal.
Yeah.
But we had a choice in the versions that we
Which
wanted to
one?
read, and we understood the versions that we're choosing. We still could, because we're still choosing to read those translations. So, yeah.
I must say, I'm really going to start using it a bit more, especially when it's taken there by NKJV.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't understand, I'm still like, hey, Gen Z.
Let me just quickly, to get
Check it.
perspective.
put me on.
Okay. All right. We do have a comment. Pundis, you're gonna have the last read. Let me just read the comments that have come through. So earlier on when we're speaking about the words AF, Derek says that does this not test the case though? Perspective is made. If this was a Thursday, would say there's no gray area here. It's clear that it's out. So because of that, it's out there. And then we're having Mantwa on Facebook, on YouTube, saying that, hi Gen Z, have you seen Matthew 5? Now I'm tempted to go and open it, but I won't because of time. So she's saying that it's like it's written for entertainment. So we also need to take that. We're also having a comment on our WhatsApp line saying here, saying when someone is driven by the Holy Spirit, they will understand any Bible translation. Let us not lower the standards of the Bible. So me before Mfundisi came, I must also ever say, yeah, well, please don't censure me or anything else, Bazaran. What I'm gonna say, like echoing what almost all of us said, that is that if the young people, if the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas that are coming, if they understand this version more, let's not shun them, rather encourage them to reference other texts. Because I believe that with all of us as well, even though some of us prefer the NIV, the King James Version, we started off with a particular Bible that we had and we're able to reference. I was saying earlier on during the day that, for example, when I read and it's not making sure properly, I actually go back to my home language. I don't know why English is my default. English is the default, but when it's not making sure, I go back to my home language, like I then I read my Tonga Bible there in order for me to understand what is what, and now thinking about it, I think I started off with the Good News Bible. It's like the Good News Bible. We had the Good News Bible, those are that they were giving us the missionaries. We started off there, and as Lewi is saying that we had the privilege now of choosing. Yes, I do read. For example, there was a time in my life where I loved the Amplified Bible because it explained things. They would do a bracket and give you all the other words that are there. So now when we are having these younger people, this is just my 2 cents. I'm not saying it's it, guys. When we are having them, let's also guide, as everyone has said, and give them that. And yeah, not a defender of AI, but don't be scared, guys. Don't be scared of AI. It's not gonna luma us. It's not gonna bite us. When this your closing remarks.
Yeah, I agree. We shouldn't be scared of AI, but we just need to know how to use and navigate the things that AI gives us. You don't ask AI to write you a paper and submit it as is. You want to check through it first and just be sure. So as we use the Gen Z Bible, we need to use it knowing the weaknesses that are there. I think it's great for us to read a number of different translations, because different people will be able to capture different things in different ways. So how I would use the Gen Z Bible is, if there's something that I don't understand, I can go there, or maybe just using it for a fresh perspective. Because there's certain verses that we've heard over and over, and now our heads kind of become numb to hearing those words. But when you hear it in a fresh perspective, it gives a slightly new way of looking at it. It has additional force. Just like when you read Malachi, there's some additional force that I felt listening to it said in a different way. So I think we can use that to help gain new perspective, but I wouldn't take it too seriously, because whoever produced it also didn't take it very seriously.
Thank you. Spoken like a true pastor there. Thank you for coming through and helping us, and I actually appreciate. Oh, my mic is off there. Thank you for coming through.
I was wondering why can't I hear you?
Right, it's Gen
But
Z,
we
guys.
could hear you.
So thank you, Mfundisi, for coming through, for helping us unpack this one. To my guest in studio, thank you so much for coming through, guys. It was lovely. Taps, Lebohang and Tafazo, thank you so much for coming through. To each and every single one of you that were listening and also watching, thank you. We do this every Friday, not the Gen Z part, but we look at issues, social issues, or issues that are here on a day-to-day, and we do a Bible study on them. But then once in a while, we don't necessarily browse the the scriptures per se, but we look at what the Bible actually has taught or is teaching about that issue, or we look at the historical issues. I remember last week they were speaking about all things, the usage of tongues and the gifts and everything else, and today we're doing this one. So next week we don't know what the conversation is going to be, but if you also are interested in saying, Team AWR, there is this issue that I don't understand, can we please do a Bible study on it? Do not hesitate. Send us your number, your thoughts on +27 734 703520, or you can drop your comment here, and then we'll definitely have it. Right? We have a plethora. Is that the right word? Plethora means a lot. Ne? English is coming up. Yes.
The bundles haven't
That
depleted
James
yet.
Version.
We have a plethora of pastors, that can come through, and also the young people as well. If you also have a topic that you want to come and discuss, we've done dating, we've done toxic families, we've done absent fathers, we're doing Gen Zs, everything that you want. Do not hesitate. Let us know, because this is your station. And then for me, Zanele Zama, that's where I come in and say it is a goodbye and stay blessed. And